Welcome back to Montana this morning, everyone. The time is now 6:45 at 24 wonderful degrees in Billings right now. I'm loving it. Sounds like we're going to have some sunshine to go along with it, but there is a catch. Ed will unveil that in just a few minutes with his forecast. Well, getting us started this Tuesday, President Trump sent Congress a record $4.7 trillion budget. It would boost defense spending by 5%. The president wants $8.6 billion for a border wall. He would slash EPA funding by nearly a third and education 10%. The plan projects a $1.1 trillion deficit. Montana senators weighed in. Republican Senator Steve Daines said, quote, "The budget released today by President Trump is merely a blueprint. Congress makes the final decision on funding for programs. The president is right to focus on excessive spending as the core driver of the debt crisis." Democratic Senator John Tester says he's concerned about the president's proposed cuts to Medicare, Social Security, the USDA, and initiatives that support public lands. He says, quote, "Budgets reflect priorities, and slashing funding for these successful programs shows just how out of touch this administration is with rural America." In Venezuela, the country is in its sixth day of rolling blackouts. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says the outages are a direct result of years of neglect to the Venezuelan energy system. But embattled President Nicolas Maduro said the outage was the result of a cyber attack by the U.S., but provided no evidence. Overnight, Pompeo tweeted that he's withdrawing all remaining personnel from the U.S. Embassy in Venezuela this week as a response to the political unrest in the country. Back here in Billings, a boy is recovering from some minor injuries after he slipped and became lodged about 5 feet down between some rocks on the rims. The call came in just after 5 o'clock Monday night. Firefighters say the boy fell into a crevice while walking with his mom on the snow. A firefighter on a tether line was sent down into the crevice and the boy was pulled to safety. Firefighters said on days like this, it's important to go slow and steady outside.
You can see it's snow covered. We've actually opened it up, but even right through here, I know there's fissures in the rocks right through here and you can't see them. It's been obscured by the snow and ice, but they're still present. So I encourage everybody to use caution when walking on these rims.
It took firefighters about an hour to get the boy out. In Bozeman, just days after the rooftops of two gymnasiums on the MSU campus came crashing down, campus authorities now warn a third building connected to the first two could also fall. Crews got to work on the roof of the upper gym Monday, removing snow and placing it on a large tarp to transport it down to the ground. That gym was built with similar materials as the other two, so officials decided to be proactive and hopes the collapse does not happen a third time. MSU officials say employees who work in the center have been temporarily relocated. They cannot say when or if the two gyms will be demolished until after an insurance investigation. The Miles City School District is asking a judge to dismiss a massive civil case surrounding its longtime athletic trainer accused of sexually abusing hundreds of boys. The district says the case is legally improper. The case involves 78-year-old James Jensen, who is accused by 31 former student athletes who say they were given massages and inappropriate rub-downs by Jensen, promising increased athletic performance. The district's motion discusses the legal issues with the plaintiff's complaint and asks that 2 of the 6 claims be dismissed as legally improper. Q2 reached out to attorneys for both sides. Those with the school district say school administrators in charge went above and beyond to address what little information they had. The district also says it had no reason to hide or ignore the horrors Jensen appears to have inflicted. The lawyer for the plaintiff says it's shocking that a school district would argue it's obligated to report sexual abuse by a parent, but not by a school employee. In a separate case, Jensen is expected to be in a Missoula federal courtroom today to plead guilty to separate federal charges of coercion. The Billings City Council has approved a list of its top priorities for the coming year. Topping that list, improving the safety of Billings. Council members plan to do this by setting a standard for what a safe Billings looks like. They want to improve our safety ranking compared to other Montana cities and improve our sense of safety in neighborhoods, downtown, and parks. Those rankings will be compared to FBI statistics and National Citizen Survey results. Another priority, making it easier for police to investigate human trafficking in Billings.
I often hear on city council is from members of the public, why is the city not shutting them down? Well, the issue with that is that we have to have laws in order for law enforcement to get through those doors. Right now in Montana, we have very loose laws. We are working on an ordinance that will address that at a city level. We need to have good law in place for law enforcement to be able to.
Now we go to Shepherd, where the school district faces a big task, asking voters for a $17 million bond. Ahead of the May 7th vote, Q2 Samantha Sullivan met with school officials and concerned parents about why the time for change in Shepherd may be now.
How long has it been since there's been a major upgrade to this campus?
Approximately 30 years. Right now we're at 110% capacity in the elementary. This project is designed for 1% growth a year for the next 25 years, and there shouldn't need to be another bond issue in there unless there's exceptional growth in the area.
The bond, which will go to the community for a vote in May, would address a laundry list of issues at the Shepherd schools.
Our big concern is safety. There is not a clean line of sight, so we have a hard time knowing who's coming and going from the buildings.
Leaking ceiling tiles, I remember seeing those all the time.
Lunchroom hasn't been changed since I was here, 30 years ago.
Okay, we need to bring our voices down. Updates have been in the works for years, and the need became even more apparent when just a week into the school year, the kindergarten building was deemed unsafe for students due to bad air quality.
It's devastating. They missed almost a week of school this year. Those are days we can never get back as education.
There are kids in hallways learning and in closets and spaces where they should never have to be to learn.
The kindergarten building, along with the current library, which used to be a restaurant and now has septic issues as a result, would be torn down and a new 50,000 square foot building would take its place. The new building would connect to the existing school structures, which also helps with the security concerns of the building by limiting points of entry. There would also be about 23,000 square feet of renovated space, allowing for some updates to the science labs, as well as the school kitchen and lunchrooms, and a new consolidated weight room to make better use of the school's existing equipment. After decades without any major upgrades, these folks hope the time for change is now.
I think that now is time to invest in our community. I think that it's never going to get easier or cheaper than it is today. We've got a good group of people on the school board, administrators. It is time for the community of Shepherd to get behind them.
In Shepherd, Samantha Sullivan, MTN News.
For more details on the proposal and the exact tax impact on your household, you can find this story on our website, ktvq.com. From the 66th session in Helena, Republican lawmakers unveil a bonding proposal to finance state and local infrastructure projects. The bill, introduced in Helena Monday, would authorize $80 million in state borrowing to finance the projects. Some of those projects include the $32 million renovation of Romney Hall on the MSU campus in Bozeman, a $22 million armory in Butte, and a new dental hygiene clinic at Montana State University, Great Falls. The measure would also direct funds to nearly 80 local sewer, water, reclamation, and bridge projects, $7 million for local school construction, and another $7 million for projects in towns impacted by natural resource development. The bill is a scaled-down alternative to Democratic Governor Steve Bullock's infrastructure plan, which calls for double that. The GOP bill has its first hearing before the House Appropriations Committee on Wednesday. Also at the Capitol, the public chimed in on proposed legislation that would criminalize misrepresenting a service animal. House Bill 439 would generally revise laws related to service animals, define the types of animals allowed as service animals, allow businesses to ask questions about service animals, and make it a misdemeanor offense with a $100 fine for misrepresenting a service animal. Supporters at the hearing say they regularly have to deal with the consequences of pet owners that fake a service animal, including a legitimate service animal's work being disrupted by animals without proper training. People against the bill say it doesn't align with current federal law and could lead to more discrimination.
I'm just excited that Montana is really looking at this from the standpoint that we want to protect businesses as well as the disabled community. I think that's huge. We have to find a happy balance, and I think working through this bill is going to do that.
What we're concerned about is that becomes watered down and that it really affects the legitimate service animals from having access to public places.
Both proponents and opponents of the legislation that spoke Monday agreed that true service animals and their owners should be better protected in the state. Now on to a different kind of animal story. Even though we live in Montana, it's not every day you see a bobcat walking through Uptown Butte. But one couple did, and their camera was rolling the whole time. The couple said they believed it was a house cat until they got closer. They said it came right up to them. One of them even got out of the truck and got pretty close. They think the cat was pretty thirsty because it wandered over to the Butte Brewing Co. And if you come into contact with wildlife like a large cat, officials say contact law enforcement immediately and leave it alone. Apparently, the heavy snow and long winter is the reason behind more wild animals wandering into town in a search of food. Ed, it all ties back to the weather.
Oh, yeah, there we